So without further ado, I just wanted to introduce HFC. Hawaii Filmmakers Collective is based in Oahu. Because of COVID, have actually been able to reach out to the other islands and have meetings virtually. The pitch cycle, Jennifer pitched in January. And so within 4 months, she gathered everyone and got her film finished. And we're going to screen it tonight. Our collective is focused on fostering and showcasing independent filmmakers in and around Hawaii. And the pitch cycle is one of the ones, as you can tell by the many people that are on board supporting each other on this call, that we can make more films together. I'm super stoked that there's a lot of members of the Oahu Native Nations organization on the call with us. And it's exciting to see these different members and groups celebrating together this film. So I'm going to pass it off to Jennifer, is the president on board? Is she with us?
Yes, she is. Aloha, everyone. Hi. I'm so glad to see everyone's faces. And right now, so what we're going to do is, it is a Native American film. I should introduce myself. Skaguknik, Aninap Chugik, Jennifer Varenchik, Aniat Tohono Atam. Good evening, everyone. My name is Jennifer Varenchik. I'm Tohono Atam, and I'm the writer-director of the short film that you are about to see. And I wanted to follow some Native American protocol that we have because the film is Native themed and I am Native. So one of the things that we do whenever Native people gather is we always start in a good way, and we start with prayer. So I would like to introduce you to Dr. Lynnae Lawrence. She's also in the film, and she is going to be leading us in a prayer.
Aloha, loloma, haukona, ne Lynnae Lawrence yan bahan matsiwa, ne guang hoya hopi matsiwa, ne hejajawa na Nakota yan matsiwa. My name is Lynnae Lawrence. I introduce myself with my Hopi name and my Assiniboine name. I'm Hopi and Assiniboine. And I was asked to share a prayer today. As Jennifer mentioned, we always start off everything with a prayer. And so I ask you all, to pray in your own way to the Creator that you believe in, that you were led to. And let's all put our hearts, minds, and spirits together so we have a good meeting today, and that everything goes as Jennifer has planned for it to go. She put a lot of work into it. Okay, Creator, thank you for bringing us together. I stand amongst many family and friends that I have known throughout the years. I'm a humble person. I ask you to look down upon us with pity. We're pitiful people. We try our best to walk the road that you have laid out before us. Keep us pure of heart, the way you brought us onto this earth. Help us put our hearts together in all that we do, in your name and under your guidance. Creator, we ask you humbly to help those missing and murdered Indigenous women throughout the years to be found and to find peace in themselves and their spirits and with their family. They've suffered a lot. We have many relatives that have suffered through the years. And we ask you, Creator, to look down upon them with pity. Help us to join together to work and put our hands together to help look for the missing and murdered Indigenous women and put an end to these tragedies. Creator, we ask you to look down upon us with pity. Again, Asquali Panamaya, Mahalo.
Thank you so much. That was awesome. And it's such an honor to be a part of the protocol and a part of this premiere above all. I'm going to pass it off to Taylor, who is going to share the link to In Our Own Hands. Congrats, Jennifer. We're super excited for you. As a note to everyone, as you are watching, just keep yourself on mute and watch in your own time on your computer, and you'll hear the cast and crew clapping us in to get us into the Q&A. So with that, Taylor. So Taylor, just put the link.
The link is in the chat.
Enjoy. Congratulations, Jennifer. Cast and crew of In Our Own Hands. That was incredible. That was incredible. So stoked. I watched the film a couple days ago and I'm getting chills still. For those of you that might have joined us in the middle of when we were all staring at our computers, we dropped the link in the chat. And so Taylor will share it again, and you can watch it when we conclude the call tonight. But we're going to head into some Q&A. Before I launch into my questions, Jennifer, I wanted to pass it over to you and see if you had anyone to thank for the support of the film.
Hey there. Oh, am I on mute? Am I unmute now?
There you go. There you go.
Okay, sorry.
No problem.
Yeah, so I hope everyone had a chance to watch it. If you were a little bit late, the link is in the chat. Yes, thank you. So I have a list of people that I want to thank. This was a very, it was a journey. And I want to say that it started with taking the HFC Hawaii Filmmakers Collective, their screenwriting program. And I was in their lab, screenwriting lab, and I was able to formulate the idea that I have into a feature script. And then from there, I was a part of Creative Lab Hawaii Indigenous Storytellers Ideation Weekend. And they kind of let you know, like, what is the next step and help mentor you to, to hone your craft, really. And so I realized that I needed to make a sizzle reel, or not a sizzle reel, but like a proof of concept. So I wanted to make a short film to show to people and say, this is just a piece of the feature. And now trying to raise money and get my feature made, the feature made in our own hands. So this was just a scene of the feature film. And so I wanted to thank Creative Lab Hawaii for that. And then through the filmmaking community, and especially HFC, I met Deb Glazer, who's I believe on the call. She was a producer. And through there, she introduced me to Stacia, and just the ball kept rolling. Like, all the support and the community really came out to help. And so I want to really say a special thank you to the women that were a part of the crew. Lynnae, who opened us with prayer, Jennifer and Jalissa. We're all a part of Oahu Native Nations organizations. We're all Native American. And I had to, I remember when I wrote them the email asking them to participate, like, I prayed beforehand. I was like shaking because it's a big deal. And then Angelica, of course, who we got through the auditioning process. A huge thank you to her. She really, she helped to calm all of our nerves because she is a professional actress. So she was really critical to have in our production. And then we have Taylor, who was the editor. She she actually did so much. I'm just like so amazed by her skills. She was the boom operator. She texted us a few days beforehand, and she was like, I can do whatever you need. And I had her go get all the craft services. She's just like amazing. And I'm just so grateful to have you on board, Taylor. Thank you. And Morgan, who was the first AD. Morgan, you were also amazing. Thank you so much for participating and going with the flow. And I really enjoyed the talk that we had afterwards, talking about like communication and like also once, because I'd been working on it for so long, once it was over, it was like, you have to like rest, and she was like, go to the beach, get your feet in the sand, get in some water, because you just have to like, let it go and renew. And I really appreciated that. Kiana, who we have an incredible story about. Kiana, she came in at the last minute. I guess we'll talk about that later. We'll share more detail of that story, but like, thank you so much. Tom, he was our sound, just amazing. Also, Steve, who did the lighting, Holly, who helped so much getting what you saw, that's my kitchen. And so we just went and like got as much stuff as we can to transform my kitchen. And thank you so much. And Joan, who helped her. And a special thank you also to Jim Jost, who actually we found out through the process of filming that we went to the same college together. So shout out to St. Mary's Gales. Yes. And I hope I got everybody. Of course, I want to thank my family. I didn't get everybody. I wanted to thank the people that donated, because when it started, I knew that I was going to need more money than what we had. So I did a method that Kainoa actually suggested, which was like, just tap on people's shoulders, just write an email to the people that that will contribute. And so I did. And if I can remember everybody, of course, my mother, Sue Varanchek, and let's see, Willie, Avril, Justine, Juanita Good, and Anthony Rizzo, the Montana family. I think that was it. I didn't tap on that many shoulders because it's kind of like, it's a little bit nerve-wracking. Like this, I know that I normally am much more poised than what I am right now, but like my heart is beating. It's like very vulnerable to share your art, So if I didn't mention you, Beth Powers, I'm so sorry. And I'll probably just like blurt your name out later because I am really excited right now. So I think the only other, of course, people that I want to thank is Glenn, my partner, and my whole family is here visiting from Hawaii. So Gly and Tommy, my grandson Tristan, they're just in the other room and I can hear them. They just got back from the beach and they're just like, running around. So if there's noise, that's what that is. It's my grandson running around. I think that's all that I wanted to say as far as thank you.
So Jennifer, you mentioned before you went into that, well, first of all, that's amazing. You have such a huge support system and people that wanted to give to this story. It has such a strong place right now. And again, that's why I'm super honored to be on this Q&A with you. You said that you took the short and expanded it into the feature in the screenwriting lab. How for the short film that you pitched for HFC did you decide on the kitchen conversation? Apart from it being one location, because as a producer, I want the like screenwriting juice out of it, not just the ease of location.
Well, but that was it. That was like, it's one location. It's a moment in time. For the feature, it was, you know, the scenes that are the most that I would want to do require stunts. Because it is, tonight, the short, it had the tone of like a drama. But the feature is actually, it's an action film. It's about these women that you just saw, and, you know, they're going to go out there and they're going to kick ass, you know, and they're going to fight. They're going to get in car crashes. They're going to shoot guns. They're going to do, you know, all of that stuff. So that costs a lot of money. You know, you have to hire people to help you choreograph fights and all of that kind of stuff. So because of that, I just thought, okay, this will be the piece that we'll focus on.
And we did sort of a little rehearsal of our Q&A session. So I have a little bit of the inside scoop to which character was added. And I wanted you to share that a little bit with the audience, and also how you managed to get yourself into acting, which was not the original. So 2 questions: which character was added? And then how did you get involved in acting?
So the character that was added was the Grandma Julia character. Originally, we had Lynnae actually as the Maxine character. And as time went on, you know, I realized for myself that when I wrote this, I imagined myself as Maxine. And I don't know why I didn't like go with my instinct. So it was Stacia who actually really like kind of put that bug in my ear, and she was like, you should do it. And I was like, that's not the plan. You know, the plan is for me to direct. So I just made, you know, the decision to be in it, to be Max. And we asked if Lynnae would stay on, and we would create this character for her, this elder character who really, I think I can't imagine the script without her. So I need to rewrite the feature now, because her presence was like so strong and so like, you know, she had the wisdom of elders, and it's like everyone, we were working to get her approval, you know, and she was like, yeah, you know, in her own way, go do it. So we added, so that's who we added. And then I don't know, I just did it because they said that they suggested it. And then I was like, I don't know. And they believed in me. So I did it.
I wanted to point out for those, I know people are sort of trickling in throughout the call, who of the cast and crew are on, and you might have to flip through the different callers, but we have Jennifer Varenchik, who was the writer and director. I've lost Jennifer Tucker, at least on my screen, but she's calling in with her daughter, I think. We have Stacia, the producer, with her partner, Jim, who was the camera operator. I see you both in the same screen there. We have Taylor, who was the editor, COVID officer, boom operator. Did I say editor? That needs to be underlined. Sound designer. Did I miss anything? Crafty runner.
Colorist.
All around extraordinaire. She's like, keep going. Let's see. We have Morgan, who was the first AD. Kiana, who popped in as pulling focus. That wasn't all you did, though, I think, on the production. And Holly, who wore, I'm sure, 3 or 4 hats, but we'll give her production designer. And then, of course, we have Angelica Quinn. And why can't I not see Jennifer Tucker? So for any of you in the audience, I have a question for the cast and crew. Oh, yes.
We're here. About a very, very important person. That's Deborah Glazier, the producer.
Deb, the producer, and DP. How can I forget you? I'm just so jealous you're going to be at Disney tomorrow.
We also have Connor Chi. He's here on the line,
Yes.
on the call. He did the music, and he's amazing. Of course, he really he nailed it. I'm scrolling through and I'm seeing people like clapping for Connor. So
Yay.
yeah, we went with my original idea, which was the music was way more actiony, and like we realized like that's not the tone, that's not what's going to work. So he really did like such a good job of like listening to everyone's notes, because there were a lot, you know, to change this, and he just took it and like was able to really like understand the language of music, you know, and film scoring. So he was amazing. So thank you, Connor.
That was awesome. Gosh, there's so many people. So it was such a collaborative effort. And Jennifer, it's super awesome to hear how open you were to everyone's suggestions. And I'm really impressed from what I saw a couple days ago. You guys have been jamming out work for the Taylor. I can't imagine what you've been through. So I wanted to ask the cast specifically. This is not a fun, easy topic. How did you prepare for the role? And I know a few of you, maybe this can be a 4-part person question. A few of you actually haven't acted before. This might have been your first time. So what was that like working with Jennifer, who was also acting and directing? Everyone can answer at once.
Hi, aloha, Poso, Jennifer Tucker, and the Aswi Sien, Natamo, Natak Cam, Omat Namanea Keu, Nawapiam. My name is Jennifer Tucker. My Menominee name is Natamo. I am a member of the Menominee tribe in Wisconsin, specifically Neopit. And this is my daughter, Jalissa, and we play sisters in the film. Yes. So this was our first time acting, and how it came to be was because Jennifer presented it to us in person, and she said that certain somebody told her, there's no way you're gonna find 5 Native girls in Hawaii to, you know, fill the roles. And that was like, I was just like, you know what, Jen, sign me up. Sign up, Jalissa, we're gonna do it. And that's how it came to be. And Jen really helped us. We had multiple Zoom meetings, and she was like running the lines with us, and she said, okay, say it like this. Okay, say it like this. I think we must have said the lines over hundreds of times. We said, say it like this, say it like this. So she really helped us to get comfortable in saying our lines. Also, you know, like we have women that are missing from our tribe, Ray Turtelot and Caitlin Kelly, and I think about the families and what they had to go through, and we use all those emotions and try our best to get it out and to fill the role.
Oh, I feel like having no prior acting experience, I didn't know what I was and wasn't going to be capable of. So in the scenes that you can see me getting really emotional, I didn't know that I could do that. But that night in that house, there was so much emotion there. It was just like so heavy, and you can feel everybody that was in that room could feel the emotion. And when we were filming those scenes, there's like parts where Auntie Jen, Max, and my character Molly, we like make eye contact, or me and my mom make eye contact, and it's like you can just feel each other's emotions and pain, and it made it really easy to let all of my emotions out and get into character.
And in contrast with Angelica's character, she was all action and like, we got to do it. I've brought the supplies. I have the weapons. And then in contrast with your sister's character, like, what was that energy like, Angelica, to have that emotional experience opposite you, and you're like, focus, we have to go.
It was a balancing act, because the truth behind the story was, how do we get this person that we care about, you know, and everybody's strength in that room, you could just feel it, and everybody's heart going into the scene. At times it was a little bit heavy. I myself have gotten choked up, you know, when we would depart from the table, you know, and then saying, okay, no, we have to actually kind of keep our own characters in order, you know. But just being surrounded by these amazing women trying to tell their stories, I'm just humbled and blessed to be a part of it. Thank you,
That's
guys.
awesome. Thank you, Angelica. I actually had a question for Deb. I was thinking about this the whole time when I saw it this weekend and again today. The dynamic shots around the table, you know, the actors were able to play across the table from each other. How did you kind of work with Jennifer to plan the shots to keep the movement, you know, diverse and interesting?
Well, the first thing we did is we asked Jennifer what her vision was. She showed us some clips of things that she liked from different movies. And so we tried to capture that feel that she wanted. And really, I have to say that Jim Jost is just amazing to work with. He's a phenomenal camera operator. He's a phenomenal director. He's in his own right. And really, Jim was the mastermind behind, you know, I mean, it was a collaboration, but we were both shooting. I was the camera operator. And, but of course, Jim has this amazing knowledge from all his years of work. And so Jim came up with this idea that, you know, first I have to say, I was more of like this guerrilla approach. You know, it's hard when you're filming in a circle because, you know, you have this line that's always, you know, you have the cross, if anybody, I'm getting ahead of myself, but, you know, there's the 180 line, right? The 180 rule, which is when you're shooting, you always want to stay on one side of the line, right? So when you're shooting in either direction, you want to stay in that line. Well, when you add a round table in there, it's just the possibilities are infinite. So anyway, Jim, of course, was far more organized with that, and we shot in quadrants. And we were lucky in that location that we had the ability to shoot 360. Yeah. So we, you know, the challenge was, of course, dressing the set in whatever direction we were shooting. You know, we shot, you know, in every quadrant that we could in that direction, and then we would reverse and we dress the set the other way in light. And so I'd like to say that, you know, I was the mastermind, but I wasn't. Jim just was amazing, and I learned so much from him. So I appreciate that, Jim. Thank you.
I figured seeing the round.
You did a great job, Deb. Thank you.
What?
I figured seeing the round table in the opening scene, I was like, oh boy, that shot list must have been something else.
Well, you know what you do, of course, as a director is you, and even, I mean, when you're shooting, is you go through the script and you kind of line the script and you look at what's important in each scene. I mean, this was kind of one long scene, but on every page you look at what might get an eye look, what might get, you know, where do you need to be close on certain dialogue. And so, but what's crazy about this whole round thing is that so let's just say you put a cross in the table, right? You split the table in half and then a half again. Well, when you start moving like this, I mean, you have all these infinite possibilities. So then Taylor had this incredible job of trying to, you know, Jenga it all together, because there was so much great stuff in all different directions that, you know, you Jenga operator, that's what you are.
You guys are mastermind of my Q&A, because my next question is for Taylor, actually, in terms of the editing. I really appreciate Jennifer allowing space for such a technical conversation, because I know she has a heart for rewriting and getting it to perfection on the script. So in terms of like what we would consider the third rewrite, Taylor, how did you approach that like infinite possibility with all the shots and the circular table? And how did you work with Jennifer to kind of create a really finesse timeline?
We really focused off the bat on the moments that needed to happen and the moments that needed to breathe. And I feel like it was fairly easy to find those moments. What was difficult was finding the right reactions, because there was so much. You have two cameras moving dynamically, and it's never this exact same in different takes. And like finding the right look, the right performance to put in for that moment. I mean, there could have been, I don't know how many different versions we did. And try this shot, try that shot, from this end of the table, from the other end of the table.
So can I add in here just a thing? So Stacia was on the monitor, on the director's monitor, and it's so collaborative, right? So you have all these eyes, and Stacia just has an amazing eye too, and so you know, Taylor's watching as an editor, right? And she's thinking about where people need to be, but with Stacia on the monitor too. I guess everybody is an editor when you're shooting, right? I mean, you shoot to edit, hopefully, but anyway, I just want to throw in there that Stacia had a good eye too. So we're all catching things as we're going too. So it makes her job easier too, Taylor's.
I really relied on Stacia and Deb to help me find those moments, because, you know, Deb was shooting it. Stacia had eyes on the monitor when we're actually filming. I was boom operator, so I'm listening more than watching. So I really relied on them when they said there's a different take from this end of the table. So I really had to get organized with the footage when I got it so that I knew what they were talking about. But that really helped guide me. And then I feel like we were all on the same page, you know, when you're editing and you just have that gut feeling of, and we cut here. I felt like we were all on the same page with the cut needs to happen here, or this moment is long enough. We let it breathe enough. So that was really helpful.
Oh, that's awesome. Stacia, I see you popping in.
I wanted to say what one of the things that was so remarkable about this experience really goes to Jennifer, and that is there were a lot of directors in the room. And she graciously and openly and beautifully, which is, I think, oftentimes rare in filmmaking, just received. And you know, she processed it. She made her decisions. We were all supporting her vision, but a lot of us are directors, and so that's a tricky place for a director to be. And it's very common here, I think, in Hawaii. I'm just kind of stepping into this world, having been really in the filmmaking world in Los Angeles. But what I'm learning here is that a lot of people wear multiple hats, and it's a beautiful community where you can be a PA one weekend and a director the next weekend. But what it takes for a director to really receive other filmmakers' influence is grace and humility, openness, and real true artistry. And that's what I think was so special about this experience, and something that's really, really special about Jennifer.
And that is where we ended. Such a mic drop. I love it. Jennifer, that really does speak volumes in the final film. The final film reflects that. And it's so cool to see that poured over into a Zoom call. So that's awesome.
Yay.
Oh, can I just add something too about the sound? Tom Galley Tommy did an amazing job with sound. There's so many elements that go into making a good film, and acting is one, production values is another, camera, of course. But sound is so incredibly important. And in that case, when you have that many people and, you know, like bringing up that bag of guns, you know, there's just always the risk of everybody hitting their mics and anyway, you did a phenomenal job, I think, in those circumstances. Great.
Thank you.
Yeah, Tom, such a
a great crew and a a couple of great PAs too. The one other thing does bear more attention, I think, and that is the acting. I mean, it's just having directed lots of actors and non-actors. It's always, you know, that when you're going into with real people actors, you're running a huge risk. And we, you know, Jennifer recognized the importance of having as many Native American people involved as possible. And I think that she took a chance, she took a risk, and it paid off. Like, you guys are so talented, the non-actors in the room. I was floored and so excited to see them come to life and have like true gifts. You know, there's really great talent. So I look forward to seeing what you guys do next, for sure.
Yeah. I loved how you said it on our rehearsal call this weekend. Real people actors. That was a refreshing phrase for me to learn. Before we pass it off to the audience, and I wanted everyone to just like raise your hand and unmute and ask the cast and crew questions. My last and final question for Jennifer is, where can we follow you and what's next for the film?
Well, what's next for the film is we are going to be submitting it to film festivals. It won't be streaming anywhere right now. It's you know, so if you were able to watch it, you got to see it, and now so we're gonna you know, put it away and start submitting it to film festivals. And I'm really excited about the you know, the possibility of it getting out there and just, you know, doing a festival tour. And in the meantime, I'm also rewriting the feature script because now we have the Grandma Julia character, and I really want to like incorporate that into the story. And so that's kind of where we are. We're gonna, you know, start a Kickstarter campaign in the future, not yet. And I think I can just leave my link tree in the chat, and it has a lot of my links in there. And also, I haven't officially started a Kickstarter yet, but I do have a donation button on my link tree. So if anyone wants to donate to help us to get it to festivals, because that in itself is also expensive. You have to pay to apply to be in the festival, and then if you get in, being here in Hawaii, I would have to fly to wherever the festival is. Well, I wouldn't have to, but I would want to. Because I believe that when you are accepted to a film festival, you know, a lot of really great things can happen when you go there in person and you go to the different activities and then like the networking and, you know, just running into people. So all of that. But that is, you know, that's expensive, hotels and whatnot. So that's really what we are focused on, what I'm focused on right now.
That's awesome. Yes, please share your social media so we can follow you and follow the progress of the film. With that, I know the film was about 12 minutes of our time, but I wanted to spend another 15 minutes with you, the audience, asking questions. We have heaps of people on, and I'm sure I didn't ask all the best questions. So we can kind of, Morgan will help me field questions if you write them in the chat, but you can raise your hand or just unmute when you have a question.
Let's see. Looks like Barry has his hand raised. Barry, do you have a question?
Not so much a question necessarily. I just wanted to congratulate everybody on that. It was very exceptional. And I'm looking forward to supporting the project. It was a very powerful scene, and you could definitely tell that there was a lot of heart in it. And I think everybody involved has a lot to be proud of on it. So I just wanted to give that congratulations to everybody involved.
Thank you so much, Barry.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
I don't know if this was meant for me intentionally, but the Kiana story, we wanted to hear how she saved the day for, I don't know the story, so I'm asking on behalf of someone else, but I think that's a Stacia story, I think.
I'm gonna let Jim tell it, because he was the camera operator desperate for someone to pull focus when we lost our focus puller because of COVID restrictions. So, you want to tell it?
Okay. Good evening, everybody. Jim Jost. I was a camera operator on the project, and I'll cut right to it. And that is, the first AC that was going to be there that evening had to call in sick, and we were desperate for someone to come in, and
an hour before we were shooting.
An hour before we were shooting, and someone said, okay, well, Kiana is coming in, and she's ready to pull focus. And I said, okay, great, wonderful. And when she got there, I asked her, I said, hey, so how long have you been pulling focus or a camera system? She said, oh, day one.
Where is Kiana
right?
there?
Is that, do I have that right,
Kiana, you should probably help tell the story too, because you might not be all right.
And so,
unmute yourself.
And to make matters more difficult, if anyone knows how to pull focus, there are a couple of different ways. One's via remote focus with a Preston, or off the lens with just a manual gear. But we were using the Red Komodo, and that has a Wi-Fi signal that communicates with an iPhone. And lo and behold, it has an app that you can pull focus off of your phone that communicates to the lens. And I've never done that before. Kiana's never done that before. And so not only was this her first time pulling focus, which, by the way, is the most difficult job on the set, bar none, no debate. and we were shooting at a 2-stop most of the evening. And so that just adds to the difficulty. And she had such a wonderful attitude, which is half the battle, and put in so much effort. I was so very impressed. Thank you, Kiana. Well done. If you want to add anything, I mean, I was shocked. She said first day, and so hey, why not? Let's go for it. That was pretty amazing.
I would love to add that the reason I'm especially impressed and grateful to you, Kiana, is if you hadn't done it, the next person in line to do it would have been me.
Oh no.
I just wanted to say thank you so much for putting up with me and guiding me, and it was an excellent experience for me, and just thank you so much to everyone who is so supportive and patient with me, and just especially as we were troubleshooting the app and some of the technology issues that we were faced with. I really appreciated that. So thank you very much.
You're an ACM student, right?
Yes, I just graduated.
Yeah, so ACM is, yeah.
Nice. I wanted to pop in here really quickly too and say that, because we haven't mentioned him yet, that Devin is the one who connected us with Kiana. So thanks to Devin for that also.
That's awesome. Such a cool community collaborative thing. We love that at HFC. Kiana, actually, if I can keep embarrassing her, has joined us on the volunteer team. Everyone that's leading this Zoom call is a volunteer. And we just, our whole intention is to make films together. So day one, Kiana jumped in, no problem. Let's see. Oh, we have a question from Kathleen. She would like to know if Jennifer would care to share the internal process she went through to decide to film about the topic. So any personal history behind the film?
Yes, that's a great question. What got me to write this film was because in 2019, a friend of mine went missing. So I had always heard about MMIW, And for those that aren't familiar, it's Murdered and Missing Indigenous Women. And so I'd always heard about it. I think everyone that is, well, not everyone, but like a large amount of the Native American community is very familiar with MMIW. And so, and when I lived in Los Angeles before I moved to Oahu, my community was mostly Native American. So everybody that I knew knew about MMIW. So when I moved to Hawaii and when I was first in the HFC screenwriting program, I had learned oh, not everybody knows about MMIW. And so when my friend went missing, and the good ending to the story is that she was found. So that's just, I want to put that on the table. But while she was missing, it was agonizing, and everyone was texting and calling each other, what are we going to do? Are we going to drive out there? And I was so frustrated and angry, and I just took that emotion and channeled it into a script. What would I do? Well, this is what I would do. So that's how I kind of, I got the idea. The seed was planted in 2019, but I didn't write the script until 2020. And then just kind of using, the ideas that I have learned from screenwriting and character development. And that's what made me create the script.
That's tough to hear. And it's sad that it's such at large numbers, but I think stories like this raising awareness will hopefully shed light on it and hold enforcement accountable.
Can I add something about the acting again? Angelica is so amazing. And she is a professional. And I think what was really neat is she's super approachable and down to earth and really made everybody feel comfortable. But I think working with Angelica is like playing tennis with a pro. And if you're not good at tennis and you play with somebody who's worse than you are, then you play worse. But when you play tennis with someone who's better, then it raises your game. And I think that's what Angelica did is she made it okay for everybody to raise their game and to feel comfortable enough to be vulnerable, because as an actor you have to be vulnerable to go there. And I just think you were invaluable, Angelica, being on that set. So thank you very much for giving your time and energy to that. Really appreciate that.
That was such a sweet intro, Deb. Yeah, Angelica, go ahead.
Thank you. I also want to give a shout out. Is it Connor who kept us on track with the continuity?
Oh, Devin.
Devin.
Holly, yeah.
Devin. Oh my God. Thank you, Devin, because we would turn things around and it's like, no, you're supposed to pick up this gun, or no, the butt's supposed to be this way.
He does it in such a loving way too.
Yeah, yes. And everyone that was on the set, everybody was so loving. And just keeping everybody's energy together too in regards to the work process, I think just made it so wonderful to actually be a part of.
Yeah, that's awesome. Let's see. I know there's a question about budget in the chat, which is always a great question. I can sort of pop in and answer that. And Jennifer, if you want to give a range to how much you were able to do the project on. HFC always awards $1,000 for the 4-month cycle of our pitch program. And then Jennifer was able to fundraise on top of that. So it was a pretty micro budget short film, I would say. And the best part is it doesn't show. It's a pretty polished piece. So that's awesome. And this is a good question as well. And then we're going to give it a couple more minutes and we'll close it out for the evening. How much did COVID affect the production? I know Taylor can speak on that being the officer. Jennifer, you were pretty open with people coming into your home, city and state compliant. When did you actually go into production? It would have been March, April of 2021?
The actual production was in April. So we were in pre-production starting February 1st. Right after the day after we won the pitch, that's when everything started rolling. But we we did Zoom rehearsals. And then we were able to do the day before a rehearsal. We were able to have different crew members come in and look. Like Steve came in and he checked out the lighting and all the outlets as an individual. Holly and Joan came in and they, checked out the living area, like what do we have, what do we need. Deb came over, and she was really checking out, like with the the camera, and Jim was there. He also, like everyone, Stacia, like everybody was able to come, but individually beforehand. And then the day before we shot, that's when we had everybody come in and, we did setup, rehearsal, and then the day of course. But we had Taylor on set, who was our COVID compliance officer. She really kept us in line. Masks all the time. Unless you're saying something, then you can come off. Yeah, I'll pass it to Taylor if she wants to add anything, or Deb or Stacia if they want to say anything about that, about COVID.
We forgot to mention Joan. I'm sorry. This isn't COVID related, but Joan Cervantes Power. Yeah. She was also a powerful team member.
And Kelsey, our one PA who just did everything. One thing I will say about this, I mean, it's always, fun to be the COVID officer and being like, put your mask on, sanitize your hands, don't touch that. I'll hand you that water bottle. But everybody was, just like rolled with the punches. They didn't get mad at me when I had to remind them. It was great. And we had to be strict since we were working in, close quarters. I will say I'm a certified COVID officer, and I've worked on some major projects with huge crews as the COVID officer. Never once have I had somebody have to be turned away from set because they said they had symptoms until this project.
Oh no.
We rolled with the punches. Nobody freaked out. We made it happen, and we made a new friend with Kiana. So it worked out really well because everybody was very respectful of the guidelines.
Those focus pullers, they'll just carry it around. Except for Kiana, she's compliant. I love the question in the chat now. Another one just popped in. This one is from Heather, but for Jennifer, what do you hope people take away from watching this scene specifically, and then the feature film ultimately?
So shout out to Heather, because she is one of the people that I consulted with, because I needed to find someone who really knew about the statistics and really knew, the importance of MMIW, and was able to, I was able to share this idea because it, when I first came up with it, I met with two producers in LA, and they were like, I've never heard of MMIW, and I think it needs to be a documentary. And I remember one of them even Googled MMIW in front of me. We were having coffee, and she was like, oh, this is a big deal. The New York Times wrote about it. The LA Times did something on it. Like, I was like, yeah, I just told you it was a big deal. Like, but anyways, my point is that talking with Heather, what do you think? This is like an action piece, but we're talking about MMIW. And as someone who is a researcher and knows so much about this subject, what do you think? And she, we talked about it, and she gave me like the green light, in knowing that I would, really try to make sure that it's portrayed in a way that brings awareness. So everybody, everybody that is on this call, and if you've never heard of MMIW before, you are now part of the solution. My goal is to make this critical mass so that this is not a problem. It should not be a problem. When a person goes missing, the right thing to do is for officials and authorities to look and to care. And it's very, very frustrating just when nothing happens. And you really don't know about it until it happens to you, until it happened to a friend of mine who is educated, who works at a 9-to-5 job. And when she goes missing, they're like, okay, well, you know, she has a history. We're not going to look for her. And like now friends and family have to get together to look for this person. That's just wrong. So that is my ultimate goal, is to spread the word so that we can have critical mass to create a solution for this problem. That's my ultimate dream. That's my ultimate goal. And when I was going through this process, I could hear and feel the voices of the sisters that have gone missing. And it's such like a responsibility, and I want to do good by them. That's all I want to do. And I want to bring awareness to our issues. And for those that don't know about MMIW, Missing and Murdered Indigenous Women, there's also another issue now that I want you all to know about, which is residential schools. And if you haven't heard, there are over 300 bodies that have been found of Native children in Canada for residential schools. If you can imagine sending your child off to residential school and then they die in school, like that is crazy. And the same thing happened here in the US. And they're going to start looking, and I know they're going to start finding bodies. And these are things that are like really heavy topics, and nobody wants to talk about, but it's like, it's important. It's really important for people to know about this stuff, because you have to have that connection to the land. And I know I'm kind of like getting political here and like going, off topic. We're supposed to be celebrating, and we are, but part of that celebration is the fact that we were able to introduce this message to so many people that, were not aware of MMIW. And so I think that's like my ultimate goal, is to have a solution, and that this is no longer a problem. No more stolen sisters.
Well, Jennifer, I know for a fact you've made history because of this Zoom call, and everyone can bear witness to what I'm saying. This was the largest attended Zoom call since HFC closed in March 2020. So nailed it. And also you have an email list from all the registrants equaling the size of membership for HFC. And so I will gladly pass over everyone's email to do a follow-up of the Oahu Native Nations Organization link so they can get involved and donate to your film's website and your link tree, and also MMIW's contact information. So at the least I can do is get an email into their inbox on raising awareness for this. So thank you for letting me moderate this panel, for being a part of your cycle, your pitch cycle, for being a part of this premiere and letting us hear your process, dive in deep as you've been so vulnerable as a director. And we're stoked to support you. HFC will always be here to support you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I really feel like I found a home at HFC. And I always joke, like, who would have known I had to leave LA to come, here to Hawaii and to really, make progress. So I'm so appreciative of Hawaii Filmmakers Collective. And I said earlier that once I remember the person whose name that I forgot, and Yetia, my friend Yetia, she also donated. So I wanted to give her a shout out as well. And I'm really happy and proud about this whole entire process. And I'm so glad that I was able to see people's faces, especially, you know, the cast and crew who we haven't been together since then. And I really am just really grateful for this night. So thank you.
Of course, of course. And
Oh, can
yeah,
I say one more? I'm sorry.
absolutely.
I'm so sorry. Yeah, we're trying to remember. I should have had a list, but Steve Boblin did our he was the gaffer. I mean, he did the lighting, and Hunter Skeen was our grip. And I tell you, those two just worked tirelessly and brought, you know, all their gear and their energy, and those two people just keep moving about while everything else is going on. You don't hear from them until the end of the night when they're taking their lights out. And so, you know, I had to mention them. They were phenomenal too. Just really great people to work with.
Yeah, thanks, Deb. Everyone did such a phenomenal job on this. I hate to shut it down if there's no longer any last minute questions. This was recorded, so we'll be able to share it on our YouTube channel when I get it over to Tom. But on behalf of Hawaii Filmmakers Collective and Jennifer, I hope everyone has a really great night. I hope you'll stick around and maybe we can have a premiere in person soon at the studio like it should be. Aloha, everyone. Have a great night. Thank you for coming out. This means the world to us and to Jennifer. We'll see you all soon. Bye, everyone.